Hi, welcome to the first ever episode of Excuse My Frenemy, the podcast where we talk about some of the big topics of sports and two fans of rival teams try to put their sports allegiances aside, but will probably fail to do so. Thank you for taking time to give us a listen. I'm Shawn Brady, and with me is my co-host, Katie Cabrera. How you doing today, Casey?
Pretty good. I mean, not a bad start to the week. We're almost close to ending it, so thank God it's almost Friday.
All right, on this episode, we're going to recap Week 2 in the NFL a little bit, and we're going to take a peek into Week 3, and we'll also discuss the pennant race between the Dodgers and the Giants, and we'll also take a look into the world of college football, and we'll also give our thoughts on the WNBA's 25 list. Let's go ahead and get our first topic, which is the NFL. Casey, I know you don't want to talk about it, but we got to start off with your team, the Seattle Seahawks.
And not to mention, on that Saturday, we were already doing our little practice run with this. I mean, I had to talk to Brady, and he said, Tennessee's just going to come there, and Seahawks are just going to destroy them out of there. That's what I thought, too, until that game happened. And let me tell you, what the fuck happened? But in all overall, the game was a pretty good game. Titans put up a match with the Seahawks. It's just Seahawks could not complete at the end. Seahawks was taking the lead. Next thing you know, Titans just caught up on the second half. And from there, Seahawks was not able to push that defense back enough to touch another touchdown. I mean, Wilson was struggling. We saw how that takedown was before that last play for the Seahawks. And next thing you know, Titans took them down. And Titans took the last field goal and took away the game. Great game. Disappointing performance.
Yeah, so I admit I was there with you. I thought Tennessee was just going to go up there and get their doors blown off, but they showed resiliency. Like that first half, I was flipping to another game, then I saw the score change, and I ended up coming back at the end because I didn't think Tennessee had a chance. So that second half, Derrick Henry, man, he lit you guys up. I mean, he had 147 yards and 3 TDs just in the second half. And which, by the way, goes along with 237 overall yards from scrimmage, which gave him AFC Offensive Player of the Week nods, not to rub salt in the wounds. But another reason I think everybody was surprised is this was the first time the Seahawks have ever lost at home when they were up by 15 or more points.
Would you say they got comfortable?
I think they couldn't stop the run game, and Tennessee realized that in the second half. Because that's one thing I will give Tennessee credit for. They didn't abandon what they're good at, and that's what led them to come back. Because that first half was a totally different game than the second half.
Definitely.
And by the way, that was a safety. I'm sorry. That was a Russell Wilson call. They gave him the benefit of the doubt, but that was a safety.
Yeah. I mean, I saw that too, and I was just kind of like, no, that shouldn't have been a call. But you know what? It is what it is. We paid for it, and I'm hoping from this last loss, the Seahawks' next game will be a lot better. Performance will go up. And not only that, not just performance, but once they are in lead, they stay in the lead. I just feel like they got way too comfortable. And like you said, the Titans kind of read off their playoffs after the end and was like, nope, this is what they're doing, and this is what we got to do to change the game. Overall, it was a good game. I got to give it to them. Yeah,
Tennessee totally wore down your defense, and it showed.
Yes.
So sorry about that, but it happens.
Boo!
Moving on to our next game, where Minnesota went into Arizona and failed to kick a game-winning field goal, which gave my beloved Cardinals the victory, 34-33. Cardinals go to 2-0. Vikings drop to 0-2. All I can say is the Minnesota kicker jinx is apparently real. Poor Patrick Peterson, he comes back to Arizona for the first time, and that's how it ends up. Other couple things in that game, Matt Prater, mega leg, or whatever they call him, from Detroit, like he kicks a 62-yard field goal to end the first half, which, by the way, the last 5 minutes of that first half was absolutely awesome. I want to say it was 20-7 with less than 5 minutes to go, and it ended up being 24-23 at the half. So there was a lot of points scored there. Kyler Murray, my man, he throws 400 yards, 3 TDs, runs for another, has a couple of picks. Okay, we got to work on that. That's still his weak link because one of them was for a pick 6. But that earned him NFC Offensive Player of the Week honors as well. As much as I want to say we won that game, I can admit we got lucky. So what do you think?
I mean, I'm looking at it right now. The fact that Murray just threw a 400-yard and 3 touchdowns in that game, by all means, that's amazing. But, I mean, how many times do you see the Cardinals do that?
He actually does it more often than you think. It's just nobody notices because he plays for the Cardinals. But another reason I think we got lucky is poor Dalvin Cook. I don't know if you saw, he went out a couple times in that game. He ended
Yeah.
up with like 22 carries for 131 yards, but there were more than one occasion where he had to leave the game because of some injuries. And I think the last one was an ankle that he ended up finally not coming back from. Anytime they needed a big play, they just gave it to Dalvin Cook, and he was eating us alive.
Okay. Do you think that because of the injuries that he sustained during this game, he's going to be coming back for the season? Or do you think like there's more prone injuries he's going to be prone to going forward?
I think he's going to be fine overall. I don't think he's prone to any injuries any more than any other running back, and we'll talk about that a little more later. I just think it was a case where he got dinged up a little bit, and I'm pretty sure he'll be fine going forward. It's just in that moment, that game was probably tough to get through it.
Yeah, definitely. Okay.
Which other game you want to talk about?
All right, let's talk about Buffalo versus Miami. Let's talk about that game. The Bills, how they won 35-0. How do you feel about that? I know you have some type of feelings going right now, but
So no, I got no feelings because I think the score I think is reflective of the circumstances. Buffalo lost week 1, and I fully expected them to go down there totally pissed. When you combine that with the fact of Tua gets knocked out on the first drive of the game, Bills got up at the beginning, Dolphins couldn't get no offense created, and it just snowballed to where the score ended up looking worse than it really was. But at the same time, once you factor in all the circumstances, you're actually kind of surprised it wasn't worse. But this was their second worst home shutout loss ever. So I do think it is unique. I expected more of a fight from the Dolphins. But at the same time, when you factor in the injury and what happened week 1, I'm actually not all that surprised. What about you?
looking at it now, no. We're barely starting off. And to be truthful, I think week 3, the Dolphins will pick up the slack. I mean, I think Dolphins just getting a feel for their team, getting a feel for everything, especially after that big loss that they just had with the Bills. Yeah, we're gonna see a lot more from them, especially like right now. I'm pretty sure they're trying to find their replacement for
Tua?
Yes. So once they get that down, it's straightforward from there.
The Tua replacement is officially known as Jacoby Brissett.
Jacoby Brissett. Oh, okay.
Yeah. And if you're asking who that is, that tells you that they're probably in trouble. All right, so what was your biggest surprise of the week?
Biggest surprise, but shouldn't be a surprise. I would actually say, 1, your Cardinals. I was not expecting the Cardinals to win week 2. However, I shouldn't be that surprised about it. The other second surprise I had was actually the Raiders winning. I think for Vegas, it's looking good. I mean, yeah, there's some workarounds with that they must do. I mean, if you send a Las Vegas team somewhere else, going east or somewhere, yeah, we might be a little in trouble. But Raiders since the move to Vegas, I think they've been picking up on a lot of key players and then getting their chemistry together. So I'm not surprised, but I am surprised.
Okay, yeah. We'll talk about more about the Raiders here in a few minutes. But so my surprise of the week, I'm going all the way back to Thursday night. The Washington football team, the quarterback Heineke, which I think I'm saying correctly. That's how surprised I am. Is I knew he had started a playoff game, but I didn't know anything about it. But watching that game, that guy can sling it. Like, he threw for over 300 yards, couple of touchdowns. He did have one pick, though, but even the broadcast team said that really wasn't his fault because his receiver had to work around a defender, which disrupted the timing. And it was also a great catch by the DB. Most DBs don't make that catch, so I'll give him a pass on that INT. But this was his first start since 2018 when he was with Carolina, and he was supposed to be the backup to Fitzpatrick before he got hurt. So you come in on a short week, you're filling in for the guy that's supposed to lead the team, hopefully to a playoff run. At least that's what Washington football team fans are hoping for. Now, granted, you are playing the Giants, but the Giants actually showed me something too. So combining all those things, Tyler Heineke was my surprise of the week. Now moving on to the surprise that after I thought about it, I shouldn't have been surprised, was the Cowboys beating the Chargers. I fully expected the Cowboys to totally pull a Cowboy thing and just basically fold. They were going to play in LA. The Chargers were playing very well, and their quarterback is awesome, by the way, and quarterback Justin Herbert. And I'd be surprised they didn't fold. It wasn't exactly a high-scoring game, but it was an extremely efficient game. Both quarterbacks lit it up. I want to say They threw the ball over damn near 70 times, and combined, I think they had like 14 incompletions. So it was a very efficient game. And Justin Herbert, he threw for 300 yards again, which is the 10th time in his career. And by the way, he's only played 17 games. Holy cow. But the Chargers kind of did give it away because they had 2 touchdowns called back just for penalties. I wanted to say they had like 12 penalties for 99 yards, but the 2 that brought back touchdowns were just absolute killers. They had one illegal motion, which upon further review, I don't think was illegal motion, but it caught back the touchdown, and then a couple plays later, they throw a pick. So right there's 7 points off the board, and Dallas had to kick a field goal at the end to win it. So it was a close game. I didn't expect Cowboys to be able to go in there and do that. They had 10 days to prepare. They hadn't played since the opener against the Bucs. So that shouldn't have surprised me, but it did.
Okay. I could see that point. I mean, a game also that surprised me but didn't surprise me was the Chiefs versus the Ravens. I mean, I would have actually expected the Chiefs to win against the Ravens. It was a very close game, but again, their quarterback for the Chiefs, the Mahomes boy, throws another 300 yards and scored 3 touchdowns during that game. I'm not surprised that Chiefs didn't win this, but honestly, I think they could have had it too. As of right now, is it 1-1 on both teams, or how are we looking with the Chiefs?
Yeah, I believe both teams are now 1-1.
Okay.
Yeah, and to your point, Kansas City was driving into field goal range to potentially kick a game-winning kick until they had the fumble on that last drive, which, by the way, was a great play by that D lineman, who I believe is a rookie. And his knock coming out of the combine was he doesn't make enough big plays. Well, he made one that night, and he basically sealed that victory.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, so now let's go ahead and let's look ahead to week 3. You kind of hinted at it earlier, but now we're going to get a little more into it. The Las Vegas Raiders. So first they stunned Baltimore in week 1 in overtime, which nobody, and I mean nobody, saw that coming. And then they went out east, as you were saying, and in Pittsburgh, they dominated is a strong word. They were really in control of that game over the Steelers. So my question to you, are the Raiders for real?
You know, a lot of times when you ask that to some random person, people are going to say no, or people are going to say, nah, it's some ghetto team from what I've been hearing so far. But I think Las Vegas is going to take it away. They're going to show up this season. I think this season is more of a learning curve to them. Like I said, and I touched up earlier, I think Las Vegas is just getting their chemistry together with their teammates. They're going to have some good plays into it, but definitely expect the Raiders to come back for next season and be one of the top 3 going for the West Coast. So that's my opinion. What about you?
I think they're going to be good. However, I politely remind everybody they play in the same division as the Chiefs, so I don't see them winning the division. But I do think they're definitely in line for one of these wild card spots. And here's a couple reasons why. It's only 2 weeks, but they are leading the league in passing yards, and it's not even close. But the other reason is their D is actually surprisingly good. I found this little nugget. You'll like this one. On every dropback, they are getting contact on that quarterback 31% of the time, which is highest in the NFL. So for every 3 dropbacks, they're putting hands on your quarterback at least once. That's a lot. So
definitely.
And pass rush is vital to be a successful team. So as long as they got that going, I think they're going to be real. The third final reason why I think they're going to be good, it's basically their next 6 games. Their next 6 games are home against Miami, which, by the way, Tua has already been ruled out for. They have to go to the LA to play the Chargers. They're home against the Bears. Then they go to Denver. Then they're home against Philly. A lot of flip-flopping between home and away. Then they get their bye week at week 8, and they follow that up with a road game for the New York Giants. Granted, the Chargers and the Broncos appear not to be cakewalks, and maybe even Philly. But let's just say in those 6 games, they go 4-2. That means they're 6-2 halfway through the season. That's pretty good a spot to be in heading into the second half of the season.
Definitely an interesting season coming up.
All right, so now moving on to question number 2, the Indianapolis Colts, who are now 0-2. They lost week 1, 28-16 to your beloved Seahawks, and then they lost a close one to the Rams, 27-24. Both of those were home games. Their next 3 games are on the road, at Tennessee, at the Dolphins, and at Baltimore, who are all 10-game winners last year.
Right.
So At the beginning of the season, me and you sat down and we both picked the Colts to win that division pretty much by default, but we did pick them. Are they in trouble?
I honestly think they are. They are. I mean, 0-2. I would have thought they would have took away the game from LA Rams for sure. But damn, looking at their next, like you mentioned, the road games are going to be Tennessee, Miami, and Baltimore. You sure they're going to like the humidity?
Well, it does get humid in Indy.
Yeah.
But it's not like Miami.
Yeah, that's what I was definitely going to say. But I don't know. Colts, Tennessee, Miami, and Baltimore. I think those are going to be very challenging games for the Colts. However, it could be a turnaround for the season that these two games kind of woke them up and was like, you know what, let's kick ass, let's do this. But I don't know.
So I also think they're in trouble. And the first reason is their offensive line is no bueno. They've already given up 6 sacks and 21 hits on their quarterback in the first 2 games. You add that times 17, that's not a good number in either stat. Which leads me to my second reason that they're not going to be good. Carson Wentz's health. He's already injury prone. That's the reason he's not in Philly. And you put him behind the offensive line that gives up that many hits on the quarterback, he's not going to make it through the season. And here's why that's a big deal. Can you name the backup quarterback for the Indianapolis Colts?
Who?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I had to look it up. It is Jacob Eason.
Who?
Yeah, Wikipedia that. I have no idea who Jacob Eason is, and I pride myself on knowing these things. So if I don't even know who your backup quarterback is, good luck actually beating professional football teams behind that offensive line. Now, my only hesitation is they don't exactly have a tough division. So I think the next best team is probably the Titans, which are more impressive, but I don't see them being world beaters either. If the Colts get in, it's probably going to be one of those 8-9 records get you in type deal and a division title. But as of now, I don't even see 8 wins on their schedule. So, yeah, I think they're in trouble.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, so we're going to wrap up week 3 on this question now. The 49ers running back situation. It's a mash unit. Let me run down who all is already on the shelf. Their starter, Raheem Mostert, is out for the year with a knee. Jeff Wilson Jr., he's supposed to be coming back, but not until mid-season. Jermichael Hasty, he's going to be out for a few weeks, presumably, because he's got that famous high ankle sprain. Trey Sermon suffered concussion, so he's in the protocol, and that could be anywhere between a couple days and a couple weeks, or even worse. That's who their running backs were as of this Sunday. Here's who I missed one. They had Trenton Canton, but they picked him up on Wednesday off of the waiver wire, and he ended up playing. That's how many injuries they have at the running back core. Yesterday, they signed Jock Patrick, who off the Bengals practice squad. Let me say that again. They signed someone off the Bengals practice squad. Does that tell you how bad they're hurting on the running back situation? They signed Chris Thompson, who's a former Washington football team and Jacksonville Jaguar, but he didn't play much last year. Neither one of those, I think, are solving the problem. And this is an issue because the Niners are currently 3rd in the league on rush attempts. So they use their running backs. So if you're Kyle Shanahan and you're the San Francisco 49ers, who you bringing in to solve this problem, if anybody?
Yeah, and I definitely agree with you. I mean, the San Francisco 49ers had a great start to this season with the 2-0, but I mean, they definitely have one of the worst situations for their running backs in the NFL right now. Just like you say, they use them for majority of their games, but it's all going to depend on those two that are coming on board. Definitely, I'm excited. I'm excited for them. One, I'm not a fan. However, I am actually excited to see how they're going to do with the two that they just signed on to the running back line. Especially that one of them is actually from, if you mentioned it a bit earlier,
Jacques Patrick.
Yes.
You're going with the guy that's off the Bengals practice squad as saving the day for the... Man, you really hate the Niners if that's where you're hoping that they put their money at.
So you kind of caught it, right?
Yeah. You're wanting them to go with like the worst possible scenario. I see what you... again, we said we would try to keep our rivalries aside, but there was no promises made.
Right. So, I mean, come on, Niners, you got this.
This reminds me a little bit of what happened with Baltimore in the preseason, where they lost 3 running backs in a span of 24 hours. And they were all, if I recall correctly, they were all done for the year. That situation was bad, but it was the preseason. They still had time to get somebody signed, adjust. They weren't already into the season. The Niners saw what happened to the Ravens, and they basically said, hold my beer. They said,
Right.
oh, you got 3 guys go down? We're going to take our whole running back room out. So
Right.
I honestly think that they are going to rely on Elijah Mitchell, who is injured, but he's day-to-day. I think he's going to be their bell cow going forward. And I think they're going to really hope on Trey Sermon clearing concussion protocol, but that hit was bad. And that was like his first carry in NFL. That's not a good way to start your career. So if they're bringing in Chris Thompson and Jock Patrick, that just tells you that they're in a bad way. But like you, I'm not all that upset. I don't like seeing guys getting hurt, but I'm not that upset if they end up having to just run Jimmy Garoppolo a lot.
Right. I mean,
which, by the way, I wonder if this situation leads any credence to Trey Lance starting sooner rather than later, because last time I checked, Jimmy Garoppolo can't run very well, and Trey Lance, his big thing is he's supposed to be mobile. So I wonder if that makes that transition happen sooner than they really wanted to.
Right. And to be fair, I honestly think Hasty might be out for maybe 1 or 2 games, but a high ankle sprain, I mean, it's not the longest and it's not the quickest, but taking care of that ankle, I do expect to see him on maybe week 5.
Oh yeah, high ankle sprain is for time-wise is similar to concussion. It could be a couple days, it could be a couple months. It's just all matter of pain tolerance and how it heals.
Right.
Now let's move on to our predictions for week 3. All right, we're going to start with my beloved Cardinals, 2-0, going into Jacksonville, who's 0-2. Who you got?
So, I'm... Whew. Oh, Jacksonville. I'm going to give it to the Cardinals.
Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't you say the Jaguars.
No. Let's go Cardinals. That week, I have money on my Cardinals. Let's go.
Well, this may surprise you, but I also am picking the Cardinals because last time I checked, both their quarterback and their coach are both rookies in this league right now. They're going to have some growing pains. To be honest with you, I think the Cardinals know they kind of lucked out against Minnesota, so they're going to look to be going into Jacksonville and getting it right.
Right. Definitely. And that leads us to the next game as well, Seattle versus Minnesota, which definitely I will always have my Seahawks back. However, I do recognize when a game will be a challenge. And this is not a challenge.
So you beloved Seahawks. Okay, so as much as it pains me to say this, I agree with you. Because I told you when we were first starting to set this podcast up that I thought Minnesota's schedule did them no favors, and within a blink of an eye, they could be 0-4. Now, granted, I didn't expect it to come down to a missed field goal last week, but I still have that same feeling. And, oh, by the way, Seattle's not going to be exactly thrilled in the way they closed out that game in Tennessee. I don't see a blowout per se, but I do see Seattle controlling the game and winning comfortably.
Definitely. They're going to take revenge back, except it won't be on the correct team. But they're going to show that what happened last week was not going to be another repeat this weekend.
Okay, and then we're going to move on to our next one, which is the LA Chargers 1-1, going into Kansas City to face the Chiefs, who just lost to the Ravens in a nail-biter. So who you got in that one?
The Chiefs. I will give it to Chiefs. I have faith that Mahomes will bring home the Chiefs.
I do too, but it's simpler than that. It's kind of, it's really like, because the Chiefs have to win. Like, if the Chiefs are who we think they are, they have to win this game. You can't have a 2-game losing streak early in the season and expect anybody to think you're going to be the all-star team that everybody thinks you are. So I will say this, though. If they do not win this game, or at what point do the alarms start going off of, hey, the Chiefs might not be as good as we thought?
Right. And that's when we're looking into trouble. But I mean, if like you said, if Chiefs are who they are and always been, almost winning that Super Bowl game, I think this has to be a game where they need to turn that around and bring it home. Especially
now it's at home. Now, my only hesitation is I'm officially on the Justin Herbert bandwagon. So if he can go in there and he can do his thing, it might give them a chance. But anything that Herbert could do, I got a feeling Mahomes could do better. So there you go.
All right. Fair game.
All right. So the next game we're moving on to is the Sunday night game with Green Bay, who's 1-1, going against the Niners, who are 2-0 in Frisco. So who you got?
Oh, I mean, especially after what the Niners are facing with one of the worst running backs right now. Running backs, sorry. I'm gonna give it to Green Bay.
Okay, so we have to work on our predictions here because we are agreeing way too much.
Yeah,
Like,
folks, this is not supposed to happen. There's an age gap for a reason, and there's a reason why he's more knowledgeable on this too.
why you gotta
But
bring age
damn,
into it? Why you gotta bring age into it? Like, but I digress. I just think that Green Bay got right in the second half against Detroit. Now, granted, that's Detroit, so they better have gotten right. But it wouldn't surprise me if the Niners pull this off, just because Shanahan can draft up offenses to where I could play running back and it'd still be productive.
true.
However, yeah, Green Bay is a good team. And I was already on the fence of picking Green Bay before all the running back issues. I'm going to go with Green Bay, but barely. I think it's going to come – this honestly may come down to whoever has the ball last.
Yeah.
It could be one of those games.
I could even see it being a very close game leading to a field goal being the difference. It's one or the other. And it's also depending on how the Niners are going to be playing all their players. I mean, you're going to see the Niners – I think – this is my prediction is that I think their coach is going to be moving players around to see where each player is going to be moving, especially like seeing how the chemistry is going to be working with the team. They're going to focus on how they work on the field and who's going to be getting who on the Green Bay team.
That's right. Go ahead and put Bosa in at running back and see how that goes.
Yes, and another injury for the Niners.
All right, moving to our final prediction of the week. We got Tampa Bay 2-0. Going into LA to play the Rams, who are also 2-0. However, earlier today, Antonio Brown was put on the COVID list. So it doesn't mean he's out necessarily, but he would require 2 negative tests that are more than 24 hours apart to be eligible to play, which is not a lot of time between now and Sunday. With all that information in mind, KC, who you got?
Oh, Tampa Bay and LA Rams. I'm going to be honest with you. This is going to just be because it's home, LA Rams. I believe LA Rams is going to take it.
Okay. For the sake of disagreeing, I'm taking Tampa.
All right.
Because I was initially saying toss up, whoever was at home was going to win, but I'm tired of agreeing with you. Like, we're not supposed to agree, so I'm going with my second cousin Tom, and I think he's going to go in there and look at Aaron Donald in the face and say, you know what? Watch this. And he's going to light them up. Having said that, I'm probably going to be wrong, but I can't agree with you anymore. I just can't do it.
That's fair game. But let me just say, LA is going to take it home.
Can we talk about something else?
All right, so now with that, let's go ahead and move on to our second topic, which is the LA Dodgers and the San Francisco Giants pennant race. So currently, as of the time we're recording this, because it changes every 5 minutes in baseball, San Francisco's got a 1-game lead. Both teams have the best and second best records in all of baseball. They're already clinched a playoff spot, but here's the kicker. One team wins a division, the other team gets a 1-game wild card against what looks like might be the St. Louis Cardinals because they've kind of pulled away. Both these teams are going to have over 100 wins. Who you got first winning the division? And second, what do you think of potentially the second best team in baseball maybe going home after 1 game?
Definitely sucks. I mean, they put all this time and effort in their winning game streak that they were having, besides that 1 loss, but it would suck that this 1 game takes it away. So I think the Giants are going to be playing a hard game versus the San Diego Padres. Definitely, it's a game to look forward to. It's going to be a very interesting one.
Okay, so both teams have 11 games left. And as of right now, the Giants' next 2 games are at San Diego, followed by 3 games at Colorado. They got 3 at home against the Diamondbacks, so there's 3 wins for the Giants. And they got 3 they close out the season with 3 at home against the Padres. For the Dodgers, they got 2 more in Colorado. They got 3 at Arizona, which it doesn't matter where it's at. That's 3 wins for the Dodgers. Followed by that, they have 3 at home against the Padres. And then they close out the season with 3 at home against the Brewers. So does that sway you on who wins or who doesn't?
Yeah, I think their most challenging game is going to be with the Padres. And one of these games, I believe Padres is going to challenge on one of them. Just one out of all their games, either versus the Giants or the Dodgers. And I think I'm leaning towards the Giants taking it away this year. I just think the Dodgers had a great season so far. However, there's a lot of things going on in LA, and there's a lot of things going on just with the team in general, which we'll get into. But I think Giants are going to take it this year. And Dodgers might be thrown into the wild card game.
I'm actually surprised. I thought you were going to be Dodger homer all the way and just say that they were going to take it over. So the reason this is a hot topic is because these two teams have been neck and neck pretty much for the last 2 months. And it felt like every time I looked at the standings, both teams were at least 8-2 in their last 10, if not better. So they're just both winning constantly. I ain't going to lie. I think it's going to come down to the mindset of their opponents. Because although San Diego is a division rival, they've pretty much fallen out of the race. So how motivated are they? They both have games. They both have a series in Colorado, which even though Colorado is a 4th place team, don't get it twisted. They got the 3rd most wins in the National League at home. They are a good home team. It's just when they go on the road, they can't do anything. Both of them have a series against the Diamondbacks, which even though I love my Diamondbacks this season, those are 3 wins for both teams. And I think it comes down to that last series between the Dodgers and the Brewers, because the Brewers are going to be in the playoffs. They're going to win their division. If they, for lack of a term, take their foot off the gas to set up the rotation for the playoffs, I think the Dodgers could squeak in for the division.
Okay.
But if the Brewers have the mindset of, no, we're going to play our game against you, I see them being a very good series, and I see the Giants holding on. So as bad as this is going to sound, I think it all comes down to the opponent's mindset.
Okay.
And to be fair, it may not matter. They may just win the next 11 games both and figure it out that way.
I honestly think the Padres are going to send the Dodgers home, and they're going to send them into the wild card game. That's my game thought into that. I mean, at the end of the day, Padres and Dodgers are always going to be rivalries, and if I even said that right, excuse me.
Rivalries.
Thank you,
or
buddy.
rivals.
Thank you. I could have just simplified my life. But in all honesty, just to shut Dodgers up a little bit, I think they're going to put up a challenge with them. And to see that they could be the difference of allowing the Dodgers to move on to the finale, I think they might put a stop to it. Versus Giants, of course, they're going to put a challenge to it, but not as much as the Dodgers.
Oh, yeah. Everything I said about the Brewers and Dodgers is the exact same feeling I have for the last series with the Giants and Padres. Like, if the Padres want to play spoiler, it could be tough. If the Padres are mentally defeated, the Giants are winning the division. Like, literally, I think it's going to come down to that last series for both teams. As far as the wild card goes, this bothers me. Like, the fact you could have a 100-win team, the second best team in baseball, would have to go into a one-game situation, presumably against the Cardinals at this point, which means you're facing either Adam Wainwright or John Lester, both of which are very good pitchers that can shut down a team for a one-game lineup. That bothers me that the second best team in baseball could essentially be gone after 9 innings. My personal opinion, I think this is about pretty much with all sports. I think a division title should only guarantee you a playoff spot. It should not dictate where you're seated in those playoffs. That's it. I know they do it in football, that if you win your division, you host a playoff game, when a lot of times that wildcard team is better.
Right.
So basically in all sports, I think to keep the division meaning something, you should earn the right to go to the playoffs, but it should not dictate where you go.
Yeah, I honestly agree with you on that. Especially, like you said, all season, both teams have been doing incredible. It would just really suck. I mean, the Giants have been a huge talk this whole entire season of how they've been playing, their key players and everything. And for them just to take one loss, we'll see. I mean...
Okay, with that, we'll kind of segue something, keeping with the Dodgers. The Trevor Bauer situation. Which,
Yeah.
first and foremost, if Trevor Bauer was pitching right now, I think the Dodgers are leading this division by at least a couple games.
Yeah,
So,
definitely.
for those that are unaware, Trevor Bauer's on administrative leave from Major League Baseball, and he's been that way since July 2nd. He was under investigation by the Pasadena Police Department for accusations of sexual assault. That investigation has since wrapped up, and they've given all their evidence to the LA County DA's office, but no charges have been filed yet. A woman requested a temporary restraining order, which was denied in August because they said he being Trevor Bauer, did not constitute a continual threat against a woman, and that she did not verbally object to any of the actions before or during the encounters. There's also a second woman who has since come out and saying that Trevor Bauer did something similar to her over a course of a 3-year relationship. Bauer and his attorney have said those are categorically false. But with all this in mind, as a Dodgers fan, and just as a fan of baseball and as a woman, what are your thoughts on this situation, Casey?
In all honesty, my definition and my thoughts on this is it's everywhere. As a woman, I stand of him being suspended and never to play again. I think it's a very tough spot as a Dodgers fan. I mean, the fact that Bauer has led a lot of winning pitching throws for the Dodgers and has led the team to success, it's going to be rough seeing them without him. However, being as a woman and understanding that a player did wrong, he has, he's still human and he's just like any other person. If he's been accused for this and he's being looked at these charges and they end up finding him guilty, he needs to take the penalty, and for him to be rostered again for the next season for the Dodgers or being even looked at by another team is going to be slim to none because he's another troublemaker at this point. As a Dodgers fan, it sucks to see him go, but it sucks that my own pitcher, like my team pitcher, had to be in fault in this. That's his bad doing, and I guess there has consequences to it.
So Trevor Bauer has, for a long time, been one of those players where if he's on your team, you love him. If he's not on your team, you hate him. This kind of swings that to where even if he's on your team, you may have to start to hate him. Because the fact of the matter is this is a situation that is bigger than baseball. Like, it doesn't matter. To me, this is similar to the Ray Rice incident of the NFL a few years back where, you may not play again depending on how this comes to light. Now, the difference between Bauer and Ray Rice is there was video on Ray Rice, which is, to this day, I contend if there was no video, he'd still be playing. But the accusation of sexual assault is not something that's taken lightly anymore, and nor should it be. Literally, the only thing that I think keeps him in baseball is if he's not charged. And that would be completely up to the LA County DA. I don't know what the evidence is. I don't know what they have. My concern is he may not be charged because they didn't even file a restraining order. So that's completely up to them. But if he's charged and he's convicted, we may not have to worry about him playing again because he might actually be behind bars. Yeah. So that may answer the question for us.
Definitely. But if he's not behind bars, I mean, he's going to be known as a woman beater on the field. And it's just like you said, it's going to be one of those things where if he's on your team, it's just going to be that natural hate for him because of what happened during the season.
And he may get that quote unquote black eye on his resume, so to speak. But the problem with sports is there's a lot of folks playing that have black eyes on their resume. So he will be on a team as long as his talent outweighs the distraction. Once his talent doesn't outweigh distraction, he'll be gone.
You said it best. I mean, if his talent's still there and they still allow him to play and his talent takes him beyond, of course, people are still going to love him for being the player that he is. But if not, I mean, this is just, I can't believe I'm going to say this, but this is just another Chris Brown and Rihanna thing. So yeah.
And to be honest with you, you can't have him playing right now. Even with the investigation, no charges, you cannot have somebody representing your organization with this over their head until it is resolved. And to be blunt, they put him on administrative leave, which means he's still getting paid. He's still getting accumulated league time. He is getting free money at this point because he's not even have to earn his paycheck, so to speak. So if he wasn't getting paid, that might be a different discussion because then you get into whole, well, he hasn't been charged. How are you taking away pay? But as long as he's getting paid, I don't see how you ever let him back on the field until this is resolved.
There's no way. And it's just like you said, either way, it is a slap in the face for a lot of baseball, not baseball, but Dodger fans in general. And I'm talking about not just the women, but also men out there who don't agree with his actions. Either way, like you said, he's still getting paid. He's still getting a little bit of leverage of what he did. So I don't know. I'm waiting to see what the DA is going to come out to a conclusion for his charges. And I'm waiting to see if he's going to just admit to being guilty to it as well.
On to topic 3, college football. So as of last week, here's your top 10. Number 1 is Alabama. Number 2, Georgia. Number 3 is Oregon. Number 4 is Oklahoma. 5 is Iowa. 6 is Penn State. They jumped up. 7 is Texas A&M. Number 8 is Cincinnati. Clemson drops all the way to number 9, and Ohio State drops all the way to 10, despite both of those two teams winning last week. So, Katie, who's your top 4 as of... Actually, let's go back and forth on this. Who's your number 1 team making the playoffs?
You don't want to know, Shawn. You don't want to know. They're not even listed.
Don't even say. Are you going to say what I think you're going to say?
I want to put USC as my number 1. However, if I have to be realistic to myself, I'll actually put Penn State. Penn State will be my number 1. Yes, Penn State.
Nittany Lions, huh? Okay.
Yep.
Well, my first team in is Alabama.
Of course.
Because, why not? Because the last time I checked, they're pretty good. And to steal a line from a commercial, their coach has more rings than a cell phone. So until proven otherwise, they're going to be number 1 for me. My number 2, because we're flip-flopping on this, so I'm taking the second one.
Okay.
I got Oklahoma. The reason I got Oklahoma is because they're basically going to smoke the Big 12. They're already got such a big point differential, which includes a 76-0 victory, I think, in week 2. They're going to look like world beaters, even though they're playing scrubs. Optics means a lot, I think, to the committee. So I think Oklahoma, unless they have a hiccup somewhere, I'm pretty sure Oklahoma is going to get in there. So I got them as my number 2. Who you got for number 2?
That is actually really interesting. I'm actually going to give it to Oregon. I'm going to give it to my Ducks. Not only that the Ducks started off with a great week 1, but in all honesty, they've been showing consistency throughout the whole season. So definitely going to give it to my Ducks that they're going to be bringing it home. All
right, so who you got number 3?
Do you want to take a good guess? Because I would, if you could guess who my number 3 is, in all honesty, then yes, you may be right. I'm predictable, but please enlighten me. Who would you think I'm choosing for my number 3? It's probably someone that's going to surprise you.
Well, it's probably going to surprise me because you don't have Alabama 1 or 2 yet, and then so any answer other than Alabama is absolutely incorrect. So, but knowing you, it's probably another Pac-12 team. It might even be Stanford. But I'm trying to think of somebody outside the Pac-12 you might go with.
Cincinnati.
Oh, okay.
I'm giving it to Cincinnati. Cincinnati.
So you think the committee is going to show some love for the Bearcats, assuming they run the table?
Yes. You don't think so?
I think Cincinnati as a good team. However, I also see them, because they're not in one of those Power 5 conferences, never getting the respect they deserve.
Got it.
Because I'm trying to put myself in what I think the committee is going to do, and they have proven time and time again, unless you're in one of the big Power 5 conferences, you're probably not getting in, unless you're Notre Dame, because they love Notre Dame for some reason.
Oh, yeah. Right. Notre Dame. But I honestly have to give it to Cincinnati. Cincinnati has been having a great start to it. I mean, looking at them, besides them being consistent, I mean, I just think they're a very slept-on team. Of course, Alabama is one of my choices. I'm not going to choose them as my number 1 because that's what everybody expects. Ha, 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 ha. But Cincinnati is one of those teams where maybe you don't see it now, but they're slowly going to start creeping up, and they're going to start showing you why they're being slept on, especially when they play against Notre Dame or even Alabama. It's going to be a very good game for them.
I could see Cincinnati making a New Year's Six bowl game. I just don't see the committee putting them in the Final Four. It's like they'll find a reason not to put them. It is more than anything else. But my number 3 is Georgia. Anybody who knows anything is probably screaming right now, you got 2 SEC teams in the top 3. And that is factually correct, because I don't see either Alabama or Georgia losing a game until they meet in the SEC title game. And no matter who wins, whoever wins that game, I think is number 1. And I think whoever loses that game is number 3, because your only loss is going to be against the best team in the country. So you're not going to fall very far, or at least you shouldn't. And they already have shown SEC, they believe, is the gospel of college football. So they will have no objections putting 2 SEC teams in. So unless Georgia does what they usually do and trip up along the way, I see Georgia being number 3.
Okay.
And my number 4 team, even though they fell this week, I still think Clemson gets in, because I think they have built the reputation where the committee likes them. And oh, by the way, last time I checked, they play in the ACC. So unless Virginia Tech all of a sudden becomes world beaters and beats Clemson, they're going to run the table. And Clemson is going to look good while they're doing it. So by the end of the season, people are going to forget that they lost that game to Georgia, which, by the way, was a close game. So I see a scenario where Clemson looks like world beaters, and based off the last few seasons, they've built their reputation. I see the committee putting them in. Now, them falling to 9 doesn't really help, but we all know that those standings don't mean anything until the committee releases their standings later in the year. Who you got number 4 on your end?
Alabama. I'm not going to choose them as my first, but Alabama's there because, like you said, Alabama is not stepping down. It's one of college's top football teams.
Who you got as your next 2 out?
So my top 2 out are going to be Clemson and Iowa.
Okay. Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, because my next 2 out I have as Oregon, because I don't think the Pac-12 is going to get any respect, because they never do. If their Oregon gets in, I believe it's going to be at the expense of Clemson, because as much as I think Clemson is going to look like world beaters, that's only if their quarterback starts playing better. So Oregon may surpass them. And my next one out is whoever becomes Big Ten champion, whether it's Iowa, Penn State, Ohio State, no matter who it is, I see the dollar signs rolling over the committee's head, and they want the Big 10-12 champion in there if they can do it. Now, that team would need to be undefeated or at worst 1 loss. So if Ohio State slips up, to me, they're out. But Iowa's 5 and Penn State is 6. So they are right there as far as getting in, but I think it's going to only come if somebody else slips up.
And I could honestly see Iowa slipping up. I think Penn State has a routine going on and has a streak going through too, but I don't know. Something's telling me Iowa's going to slip. Something's going to fold. And then next thing you know, Iowa's out the door. So I don't know. We should see. Definitely college football is something that I'm not entirely so huge about. But however, it is something that as a child growing up, and especially having my brother be a USC, one of their students, and I'm just saying, USC used to be top, but then it folded.
Yeah, and then Reggie Bush graduated. That's what happened to USC.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. There you go, ladies and gentlemen. Now you know how old he is. Damn.
All right. Well, you kind of led me into my next question I wanted to get with you, and because it revolves USC's firing of their head coach, Clay Helton. They lose to Stanford 42-28, and USC says, get out of here. Now, this firing does come with a $12 million buyout. USC is basically saying, we will pay you to leave. They feel that strongly about getting rid of him. He's been a coach since 2015, won a total of 46-24 during that time, which includes 2 interim head coaching stints with them. He went 2-3 in bowl games and did get a Pac-12 championship and a Rose Bowl appearance in 2016. Dante Williams has moved in as the interim coach. which of note, he becomes the first black head coach in UFC history, UFC football history. So that is something that should have happened a long time ago. But kudos to him. So my question to you is this, Casey. Who do you think USC is going to hire?
I'm gonna be completely honest with you, Shawn. I don't know. I just gonna be it's something that they keep fumbling about, and it's something honest. I'm looking at this list of names like Fickle, Stoops, Campbell, and the list keeps growing because these are rumors that are being heard of these coaches coming in. So if I had to take a good lucky guess, I can name you two: Urban Meyer from Jacksonville Jaguars, or Campbell. Not really, but I'll throw him in the mix.
Okay. So Urban Meyer has already come out and said there's no way he's leaving. But what coach does say that they're leaving? So take that for what it's worth. Luke Fickell has been thrown out there a lot. He's Cincinnati's head coach right now, like your beloved third-ranked Bearcats. The reason that one kind of makes sense is because Mike Bond, the current AD at USC, was the person who hired Luke Fickell in Cincinnati. So with that in mind, he may want to hire Fickell and get him out to USC, because if he's doing that well with Cincinnati, imagine what he could do with the recruiting talent that comes through USC. So yeah. I could kind of see that one. The one name that I'm absolutely throwing out right away is Mario Cristobal, the head coach of Oregon. Oregon has not extended his contract right now, and I believe his name is out there for the sole purpose to drive up the extension dollar signs for Oregon for his contract. The other one I think kind of makes sense is Chris Peterson. He's the former Boise State and Washington coach. He did well with both of those programs, and he has made it known that he wants to get back into college football. And he's currently doing TV analysis, but I could see him coming in because he did great in Washington, which, again, if you did great with Washington, imagine what you could do with the recruiting talent USC gets. So I could see that one happening as well. But I ultimately think this comes down to what is USC's intentions for this year. If they think that they are in the running this year, I see them going out and hiring one of these big names, or at least trying to.
Right.
If they think, hey, this just might not be our season, let's sit down and let's wait. Let's give Williams a little bit of run as the interim coach. I think that becomes an audition for Williams. Like, if they do well while he's the interim coach, I see no issues with keeping him on board, because that is how Clay Helton got the job. He was the interim coach after they fired their previous coach.
Right. In all honesty, I could see them giving Williams a chance just to see what he's got to bring onto the plate for the USC Trojans. I mean, definitely, if they could keep him, why change him? If he could make some magic happen with that team. Of course, the first couple of games is going to be a little bit of a hiccup. I mean, he's going to be trying out new plays. He's going to be throwing new chemistry, new positions. But in all honesty, give the guy a chance. He might be bringing USC home at the end, but we shall see. I can honestly agree with you now, reading over the candidates for coaches, how Peterson could be one of them, because he's not, all he's doing is TV analysis, and he wants to come back to coaching. So why not give him a chance and work with Williams into this? But we'll see what USC ends up doing. I mean, for all we know, the person that they end up getting might not even be from the list, or who we even think about they're going to be hiring about. Oh,
yeah, absolutely. And another thing, it may sound crazy because it's USC, but another thing to keep in mind is Williams is already on the payroll. So you bring in somebody else, pretty much damn near everybody on this list is going to come with dollar signs. So especially like Luke Fickell, you're going to have to buy him out of Cincinnati. Cristobal, you have to buy him out of Oregon. So almost all these guys come with a price tag. Right. There's one I heard today that I want to get your opinion on, but I think it's not going to happen, mainly because I don't think it should happen. So the name I heard today was Eric Bieniemy, the offensive coordinator for the Kansas City Chiefs. Yeah. And I'm not saying Bieniemy shouldn't have a head coaching job. I'm saying Eric Bieniemy's first head coaching job should not be in college. He deserves a head coaching position in the NFL. Unless he's telling teams no, he should not have to go to the college ranks to get his first crack at a head coaching position. If that's where he gets his first job, then that's a shame on everybody else that thinks they know anything about the sport of football. So what are your thoughts on him?
In all honesty, it's just like you said, why would he take a coaching position with a college team? If he has potential for the NFL, why would he step down? I don't see that happening. I think it's just another rumor going around. Like I said, USC is known for rumors, and USC is known for throwing a curveball at you. So I don't see that happening, and I don't actually see any of these potential candidates being one of them.
Yeah, but all this is to say, like, if they're just looking for a splash name, then Bob Stoops is available, and I heard Deion Sanders is coaching college football right now. So if you're just looking for a splash name, get one of those guys.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, so now let's go ahead and move on to our final topic. That topic number 4, the WNBA25. So, KC, the WNBA recently announced a list of their 25, quote, greatest and most influential players in the league history, end quote. Now, this was supposed to be a fan voting thing. Unfortunately, that voting is now closed. But they will announce who they consider to be the GOAT of the WNBA on October 12th. So let's run down the list real quick of the 25 players. They have 10 current players. Sue Bird, Tina Charles, Elena Deladon, Sylvia Fowles, Brittany Griner, Angel McCautry, Nneka Ogwumike, Candice Parker, Breanna Stewart, and Diana Taurasi. The 15 former players that are on there are Simone Augustus, Swin Cash, Tamika Catchings, Cynthia Cooper, Yolanda Griffin, Becky Hammond, Lauren Jackson, Lisa Leslie, Maya Moore, Tisha Pinacero, Cappie Pondexter, Katie Smith, Cheryl Swoops, Tina Thompson, and Lindsay Whalen. Whew. All right.
Yeah.
So there were some requirements to even be considered on this list. They had to have accomplished at least one of the following. They either had to win a major individual award, like i.e. an MVP. They need to either be selected to all WNBA first team or all WNBA second team. They needed to either be WNBA all defense first team or all WNBA second team defense. They had to have been selected to a WNBA All-Star game. They had to be a member of a championship team, and they had to rank currently amongst the top 40 in career leaders in at least one major statistical category. And the last thing that they could have been is a recipient of the WNBA season-long Community Assist Award. The player only had to meet one of those criteria to be considered, and so this is the list they came out with. So let me ask you this, Casey.
Okay.
Did anybody get snubbed, and if so, who?
I honestly, so far from what I'm seeing, as for the snub side, no. I think these are great names. We're talking about Kamika Catchings, one of the best, greatest players of all time in the WNBA. And the fact that they put Candice Parker in as well. I mean, she has a leading of a 19.4 points on a regular season per game. You know, that's pretty good. And Candice Parker, if I'm correct, she's listed as number 7 on one of the greatest players. And I honestly think she could be ranked as number 3. But other than that, looking at all names that are ahead of her and below her, it's a pretty damn good list. However, though, when we look at the 15 former players, there's some questions that I have. Because I'm like, who are a couple of these people?
Like who? Who do you
Katie
think
Smith.
Should? Oh, Katie Smith. Okay.
Yeah, definitely Katie Smith. I mean, I know she's been a veteran with basketball for more than 20 years now. Her leadership qualities have assisted Minnesota to going into the Final Four. But we're talking about back in 1993. Jesus Christ, this was before I was born. So I wasn't even thought of, and I wasn't even hatched or in the oven. So
as much grief as you give me about my age, the fact you weren't even born yet is why she's not on the list. Wow, that's impressive.
I just knew that I was going to touch you a little bit, but I'm just going to be realistic. I get it. I agree that great leadership skills, and by all means, she's doing great by teaching and being an assistant coach. But I just think there's probably a couple other people they could have put into the running list. I wish I had their name on top of my head, but I think Katie Smith is one of those that could be questionable, but I mean, I guess if you want to put leadership skills in there.
Okay. So I think the list is actually very well done. I just wish they had more spots, if that makes sense. Because there are two ladies that I think have arguments to be on this list that didn't make it. The first one is Candace Dupree. All you really need to know about her is she's the 4th all-time scorer in league history and a 7-time All-Star. Let me say that again. The 4th all-time leading scorer is not considered one of the 25 best players in league history. That is crazy to me. Like, I realize she only won 1 title, but 4th all-time scoring, you got to find a spot to put her on the list. The other one I have is Rebecca Brunson. She 5-time WNBA champ, 5-time All-Star, and she's the 2nd all-time leading rebounder if you factor in regular season and postseason rebounds. So I think those two have arguments, but as you said, I'm old, so I'm old school. So the next question is, if I'm going to say somebody was snubbed, then I now have to say who doesn't deserve to be there.
Right.
And remember, I started this by saying I think this is a very good list. I don't want to take anybody off. But if I did have to take somebody off, I'm sorry, it's got to be Tisha Pinacero. Because she's got 1 title, she's a 4-time All-Star, 3-time All-WNBA. I just don't see it. Like, when I see her, and when I see her highlights, I see Steve Nash. Like, great player, probably led a lot of great teams, but I don't know how much influence you had on the game other than highlights, if that makes sense.
Right.
Like, a better comparison, like Dominique Wilkins. Everybody remembers Dominique Wilkins, but they remember him for the highlights, not necessarily for the stats he put up. So, and again, I don't want to take Pinacero off, but if you made me take somebody off, she's probably the first one to go.
I mean, now that you put it in perspective like that, where it's been 4 years now and she's barely won 1 title, I could see that more leaning towards her. I mean, with Katie Smith, she's been a two championships with Detroit Shocks and has a 3-time Olympic gold medalist. She's
and remember, like, yeah, gold medals are great, but that's not WNBA. That wasn't on the list. So, like,
hey, but I'll take
it's like Carmelo. If we have to factor in gold medals to say you're one of the best, then you're not one of the best in the league. You're maybe one of the best in basketball, but not necessarily in the league.
That's true. But I mean, at least Katie did get two championships with the Detroit Shocks and 2 with championships with the Columbus Quest. So that's a difference versus your Pacheco girl. It's just 1.
And I hate taking her off the list though, because her highlights are so sweet. Oh my gosh, she can dish to anybody.
But it's like you said, I honestly agree with you. The list was created really thoughtfully, and I think each one brings a potential to the game. So it's hard. It's hard to say who should be off and who should be on. I think it's just well created. Okay,
so now for the golden question. Of the 25 players that are currently listed, who's your GOAT?
Candice Parker.
No elaboration, just Candice Parker?
Just Candice Parker. Come on. LA Sparks! But
homerism, okay. Yeah. So I'm laughing at you, but you'll never guess who mine is.
Oh my God. Hold on. I mean, looking from this list, can I take a good guess?
Go ahead, take a guess.
Sue Bird?
She's my 1B, but she wasn't my 1A. I kind of had a 1A, 1B situation going on. Right. I'm also going Homer.
Okay.
I'm going with Diana Taurasi. Like,
damn! I should have said it. Okay.
I mean, all-time leading scorer, 10-time All-Star, MVP, and I believe earlier this season she became the first player to reach 9,000 points in league history. She is, to me, the Wilt Chamberlain of the WNBA. And when I say that, I mean, like, if you come out with a list for the NBA, it usually contains the name Wilt Chamberlain. Well, with the WNBA, if you come out with a list, it's probably containing the name Diana Taurasi. So that's why she's my GOAT. Now, you're half right, because Sue Bird is a close 1B, because it's hard to ignore 4 titles and a 12-time All-Star and all-time leader in assists, because I love assists.
Right.
I mean, I have to, being a Steve Nash fan. But if I got to do a tiebreaker, I'm going with the home team. I got Taurasi.
All right.
Now, having said all that, all those requirements I said at the beginning, remember, players only had to meet one of those criteria to be on this list. Out of every player on this list, only one person fit every category, and that was Nneka Ogwumike.
Wow.
So she has accomplished every one of those items, every one of those qualifiers she's done at least once. So even though she's not my GOAT, there's got to be a major shout out for meeting all 7 criteria and being the only player to do that.
That's interesting. Okay. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that wraps up today's podcast. However, please give us a like or comment, and also follow us on our Twitter page. Mine, you can definitely find me on Katie1728. Make sure you end those last 3 E's. Shawn, what's yours?
They can find me at Shawn_Brady82 on Twitter.
Nice. So please definitely send requests for next topics that you guys want to hear about. If you guys definitely want to hear me and Brady go at it again, definitely give us a shout out on that. And definitely actually challenges. Please let us know what your thoughts about today's topics were. And what your thoughts were. I mean, do you guys believe in what we said about the WNBA, or do you guys believe about what's going on with the Niners? Especially to my Niners fans, to my followers who are Niners, hush, because I shall see what happens this weekend. However, show me a challenge.
Folks,
Brady.
This is why we said, excuse my frenemy.
Now, but definitely, please go ahead. Let us know what your thoughts are. Let us know what next topics you want to hear about. And do let us know if there's some things you guys would change up, or what your thoughts are on each selection we did today. So,
all right, Casey, what do you say we do it next week?
Definitely.
Okay. I'll see you then.
All right.